Durrës is one of Albania's oldest cities with more than 3,000 years of recorded history. Since ancient times, Durrës has been a vital economic hub and gateway into the Balkan Peninsula and has borne the footprints of several invasions. Now, modern multi-story buildings are rising next to ancient sites, where a new luxury yacht harbour is redefining the city's skyline. Critics say the transformation threatens to erase the traces of old civilizations. Ömer Saraji went to Durrës to see the situation for himself.
Modern cities build on the ruins of ancient ones, two worlds colliding with one another. This is precisely the case in Durrës, where new multi-story buildings and a luxury yacht harbour are set to transform the 3,000-year-old Albanian city into a new tourist hotspot by the Adriatic Sea. The race to transform Durrës has now ignited a rush to obtain permits for new buildings in the old city. But in some cases, permits have been granted for protected areas and archaeological sites. The Meander mosaic is an extremely rare discovery that has been stripped from the dust of 1,000 years. The object is believed to date back to the 1st century. The luxurious floor of the antique apartment was submerged in the sewage of a recently built multi-story building in the city.
Mozaiku i Meandrit, ashtu si shumë nga gjetjet arkeologjike në Durrës pas viteve 90, kanë dalë në dritë si pasojë atyre që njihen si gërmime shpëtimi. Pra, ndërtoheshin ndërtesa të reja, të cilat hapin themelet për ngritur kryesisht pallate shumë kaçe dhe dilin rënoja arkeologjike. Një pjesë kanë pasur fatin që të dokumentohen, një pjesë tjetër fatkeqësisht të zhdukur gjatë natës për të mos i lënë kohë arkeologëve që ti zbulojnë më tej. Ajo që është elementare është ndarja nga ndërhyrja në zonën historike.
The city was founded in the 7th century BCE by the Corinthians, who seized it from the local Taulantians. Later it was seized by the Illyrians, making it the most important port of Illyricum. Then the city passed to the Romans, who called it Durachium and made it the end of their military highway Via Egnatia.
Nëse ne duam të kërkojmë vlerat e dikushme, ato ndodhen në praninë tonë, ndodhen në këmbët tona, ndodhen të rrethuar dhe kudo. Pra aty ku janë të hapur plag, duke filluar nga komunizmi e tutje, duhet fillojmë që në mënyrë artistike, apo në mënyrë shkencore, apo në mënyrë edhe letrare dhe qytetare, të japim dimensionin e duhur të përdorimit dhe interpretimit të këtyre vlerave.
The transformation of the city led by the construction industry now threatens not only its ancient history, but also its more recent communist era.
Durrës was among the most frequented destinations during the period of communism. It was the only ideal place to enjoy a bit of freedom away from the strict rules of the regime.
Qyteti edhe sot, edhe vitet që vinë vazhdim, do pësoj transformimet. Vetë evolimi I kërkon këto, por tjetë qik më racional, sidomos me vlerat që mbartë qyteti, sepse brezët do në ndëshkojnë pëse. Të thënderit për këtë më vjen keq që një gjurmë e qëndrës të Durrësit për shembull është heq. Shatërvani historik I asaj kohe, po në ato shatërvan u bënë gjithë fotot historike të familjeve. Nuk ka familje që mos ketë në atë qendër, në fjalë historike, foto.
The Albanian government recently signed a deal to transform the port into one of the most luxurious marinas in the Adriatic Sea. The project will impact not only the local real estate industry, but also the economy of the entire country.
Si arkitekt shoh shumë ndërtime të shumtuta. Shoh però edhe një nevojë për me arrit në një stil edhe një estetik të ndryshme. Ka nevojë për ndërtesa, ka nevojë për banime, Një shembull është këtu mrapa ke parti do zhvillohet ky projekti Durrës e Marina, një lagje totalisht e re me komfort e me modernitetin e vet. Kështu që besoj se Durrësi do kthehet në atë pikë të rëndësishme që ka qenë historikisht.
Shumë pak gjëra janë ruajtur dhe ndërto janë pikërisht këto momente apo këto monumente historike në mënyrë sporadike të ruajtura për fat.
Pra kjo tregon që sot në Durrës ka një omerta, ka një heshtje ku trashëgimia kulturore dhe arkeologjike nuk merret në mbrojtje pavarësisht se është e garantuar me ligj.
Pra nuk duhen parë trashëgimia dhe sitet arkeologjike si një mas gurësh për të bërë themelet e një shtëpie të re. Përkundrazi, do duhet që të zbrazim dhe të heqim tullat pak nga pak të këtyre ndërtesave deri diku demode, të pavlera, dhe për të jashtuar pikërisht gurët atyre siteve arkeologjike për të qenë aty ku janë dhe për të dëshmuar ato çfarë ka qenë dikur ky qytet.
Certainly, Durrës history does meet modern ambition, but as city is being reshaped so quickly, the challenge remains to strike that delicate balance between progress and preservation. Omer Saraci, TRT World from Durrës, Albania.
Joining me now from Tirana is Doriana Musai. She is an architect and urban planner. Thank you for being with us. Right, let's start with this. The Albanian city of Durrës is changing into a more modern and luxurious tourist destination, as we've just heard. Will this transformation really harm the city's ancient heritage?
Yes, actually it's true. The city is facing now, from 30 years maybe, challenges on urban development and sustainability in terms of maintaining its historic footprints while developing through the 21st century. Durrës has a long history as a city, and its challenges, besides being an old city, are also connected to the fact that the city is one of the most important ports of Albania, but also to the Adriatic coast, and it is located along the Adriatic. It's the gate of the country in terms of Via Egnatia starts from Durrës, so it's the kilometer zero of the country, also of Via Egnatia, an ancient road. On the other hand, the city is expanding in its territory, urban sprawling through its coastal line, but also deep side its territory in around the hill and the fields. So at the same time, it have a lot of challenges in urban sprawling, developing fast construction, preservation, conservation, and tourist destination, of course.
Right, and Doriana, the region, Albania, Kosovo, and the region more broadly is a very rich region when it comes to history and archaeology. How can the city of Durrës, but also other cities in Albania, manage to strike the right balance while preserving its ancient heritage, but also providing modern infrastructure?
Yes, this is the challenge of our towns and cities, because the fast development of the 21st century, but especially in Albania after the fall of the communist regime in 1990, the country is facing a lot of challenges in urban and rural settlements, as on the other side, the preservation and the excavation of its historic footprints and archaeological sites are not developing or being transformed and promoted and at the same steps. So excavation and identification of these historical footprints are just the last 60 to 70 years in Albania. So we have most of the archaeological ruins under the earth, and some of them are not discovered, some others are partially discovered. So during development, we have a lot of challenges while being developed and discovering at the same time. There are a lot of lack of studies in certain parts of the territories. Also in Kosovo, it's the same. So during development, we discover something new, something old, and sometimes we have to push back the projects and the investments in order to sustain what we already have inherited. On the other side, we have to develop in order to connect to the European market and Europe and the world also. So it is quite a challenge for the country, the government, and also the academics, the studies, for everybody.
And you yourself were hinting in your previous answer at a deal signed by the Albanian government to essentially transform the Durrës port into one of the most luxurious marinas in the Adriatic Sea. Now, some believe the city will become a tourist hotspot, which in turn will improve the economy. But will a massive influx of visitors bring more harm than good to this ancient city? For instance, inflationary pressure, but not only.
Well, while studying, I've studied the heritage and cultural heritage in Albania. So while studying the phases of development, Durrës has a lot of urban layers. So we have the Byzantine layer, the Ottoman layer, the modernist period era, layer, but also the communist and now the new layers that are being added. The new projects being proposed to the Adriatic coast, so to the old and ancient port of the city, it's something that it's nothing, in my opinion, nothing connected to the sustainable development that the country aims to approach. So yes, it could have a lot of economic impact, but on the other side, it's not inclusive in terms of it doesn't took into consideration the citizens' approach or their opinion, the local inhabitants of Durrës, but on the other side, it's going to reframe and reshape the coast and the landscape of the city. So it's going to interfere and impose by imposing a new project inside a city that needs to develop more slow in order to be more resilient, for the city to heal from the earthquake, from the pandemic crisis, from the migration crisis that the country has. So instead of being resilient in terms of urban development, this type of development, in my considerations, it's too fast for a city that is too ancient.
What sort of tourism do you think they are planning to attract? Are we talking about families or maybe single people, rich jet setters? Because the plan and the architecture plans may change depending on the sort of tourism that Albania is trying to attract here.
Well, up to now, Durrës, it's, as I said, the first port, is the main port of the country. So it's also the first destination to all the tourists that come from the airport in Tirana, but also from the port. So it is the entry point for the country, and the tourists that are right now coming are family, mostly from the Mediterranean region, but not only, also from North Europe. And they come to Durrës, stay 1 to 2 nights, and then go deep inside the country to explore the mountains, the rivers, the lakes, and everything else the country has to offer. Instead, this new approach, new type of tourist doesn't relate to the actual tourism and the actual touristic groups that are involved and attracted naturally, organically from the country, but these tourists are going to be rich people that are going just to visit maybe just the coast of the country, and we don't know how they are going to approach the other part of the country.
Right.
So it's not just Durrës. Durrës is the first starting point, but the country has a lot to offer.
All right.
And we need people to go inside the country, not just in Durrës.
Because we're really running out of time, but could you summarize but could you summarize for us what are the main concerns then of the residents and their reactions so far?
So the main concerns are the fact that Durrës has a lot of problems and issues that need to be resolved. So we had now from 4 years, the last problem is the earthquake demolitions and reconstructions that are not finished, and they have a lot of developed new challenges for the city and the antique, and also for the urban development in general.
Right. Doriana Musai, thank you very much for helping us dissect this issue and understand more. Thank you. And that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.